What's going on, everybody? So, welcome to another week of the Overwatch Coach, and we're gonna start with a Lucio VOD review in Bronze 5. So, we've got your Guardian today. Let's see what he says. He's got some notes here with this that I haven't actually read yet, so let's see what he says. So, it's a push mode. Yep, we see that. Although my team wasn't very motivated to push the robot, well, that's unfortunate if that's the whole objective of the game. Rather wanted to fight. I quickly noted, well, okay, so you only need one person to push the robot. A lot of times that can potentially, sometimes it falls on the supports usually to be the one to sit on the robot, but it looks like you're playing Ana Lucio, so really it should be the Ana doing it. So hopefully that's what we see here. But maybe that's what you're talking about. I quickly noticed the weak spot and decided to take action into my hands. It says you switched to Lucio, but it looks like you started on him, so I'm confused by that. Unless you go off of him and go back to him. Doesn't say that you did that though, but I'm not sure. Anyway, found myself pushing the robot alone, which is... That in itself is fine. I'm not sure why that would bother you. Dancing around enemy team and denying them pushing the robot for probably even a minute. I mean, okay, delaying... Okay, so if you're contesting the robot as Lucio, that's fine. Stealing the robot while the enemy team tunnel visioned onto my team. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or not, but we'll cover that as we see it. My team... recollected in the end. Okay, I'm not going to read any more because I don't want to spoil what happens. And I'm not sure if it does or not, but it looks like it kind of does. So, I mean, so, all right, just a couple quick things to note on, and then we'll dig into the team comp. So, I mean, it's fine if you're a support player to be pushing the robot alone. I would prefer in this circumstance it be Ana, but it's totally fine if your team pushes up without you while you're pushing the robot. That's in my... I don't know. Are you guys seeing something different than I am? Because that's totally normal for me. I mean, there's circumstances with the team where we'll kind of sit on the robot together, but that usually comes more toward the end of the push. So I wouldn't be too concerned about that if it were me. Otherwise... let's dig into the team comp here. But yeah, the other thing I wanted to touch on was contesting the robot as Lucio. I don't want to just say I'm fine with that, but there are definitely circumstances that call for it, and there's definitely circumstances on particular maps where it can be kind of easy to do, especially if you're good at wall riding, which if you're going to be playing Lucio, that needs to be something you need to be good at. We'll cover your wall riding as we watch it. But there's going to be other times where you're just kind of feeding and not healing your team. So it's situational. And we'll see if your situations call for it or not. But if you are holding the robot for up to a minute, as you say, that's pretty good. But like I said, we'll dig into that as we see it here. So let's dig into team comp a little bit. So this is who we're VOD reviewing. The one thing I will say here is if you have a Roadhog on your team, you should have a Kiriko to go alongside of him. I am not a proponent for having Kiriko in every game like I feel like I see a lot of. But I do feel like Kiriko really enables a Roadhog. And on top of that, there is an enemy Ana that will anti your hog, making your heals temporarily useless and his. So that's why I say Kiriko might be a better pick than Lucio here. And I hate to say that because in Overwatch 1, I was a Lucio one trick to... at times my own detriment, at times my team's own sanity, but yeah, Kiriko might be a better pick in this circumstance. Aside from that, The only other hero I would maybe throw out there, maybe a Zen. But because this is Bronze 5, if the Ana doesn't anti the Hog, which in higher games you will be seeing that, and you will need to have Kiriko in your pool of heroes to play as, but in a Bronze 5 game, I'm betting you'll be able to get away with it and make the Lucio work if you're good at Lucio. In Bronze 5, you can play any hero and make it work if you're good enough at the hero. Like, that's just hard, honest facts. But as you go up, you're going to have a little bit more synergy with your team. So Kiriko or Zen would be the two heroes I would suggest, but Kiriko being number 1, and then I'll just do like, Zen Lucio as a secondary pick. But yeah, aside from that, I'm a little nervous about your DPS team choices here. I don't like Junkrat with Torb. It invites Pharah or Echo, but being again a Bronze 5 game, these guys might not have Pharah in their repertoire of hero picks. So for any DPS players watching this, which I'm not really sure why I would have much of a DPS audience because all I do is review support players, this would be a reason why to pick up a flying character, because when you get situations like this, it's wide open. So, without further ado, let's start watching the game and let's see what we get.
3, 2, 1. I'm on top of the world. Objective unlocks in 30 seconds. Hello.
That was weird. My audio wasn't swapped to my headphones. So, all right, now that audio issue is out of the way. Hopefully that's the only issue I have. Alright. So I'd like to see you wall riding just right out of spawn here. Let's speed this up just till when the door opens. So I'm gonna slow this down a bit. So wall riding off of that post we just found, getting onto the wall to the left, to the wall over here, and then to the wall over here, down to here, and then kind of wall riding here. I'd like to see some of that. So the fact that you're on the ground this much already is worrying me. You have not wall rode yet. In my games, I've probably touched the ground maybe all of like 2 or 3 seconds. You haven't even left the ground yet. So start focusing on rollouts for Lucio with your wall riding. This is already way too much on the ground. Okay, your Torb is already dead. So you could be wall riding up here, around here, over to here, and then kind of contesting in this area, and then escaping to there, wall riding through here. You have yet to wall ride at all. There we go. Okay, this is the first wall ride, and you're struggling to stay on the wall. So the first thing I'm going to say, just from what I've already seen, your wall riding needs a lot of work, unless it just magically starts getting better as the game goes on. How to improve upon this is number one, find some Lucio players on like a Twitch or a YouTube stream and watch what they do. That's number one. So just to start sparking the ideas of where to wall ride. And as we review this, I'll kind of like point out some places and things that I would expect you to do. Like I've already kind of done, but as we go through the whole map. But this is just one map, and I'm betting you don't do it for all the other maps either. So, you know, watching a Lucio streamer to start sparking the idea and the concepts behind Lucio a little bit more into your head. And then after you kind of get like a basic idea across all of the maps, go into a custom game just by yourself, or load up a game against bots. And I don't care what difficulty you put the bots on, but load up a game and then just wall ride around as Lucio and get used to just wall riding and try to go without touching the ground almost ever. I mean, there's going to be times where you kind of hit a weird spot in a map and you fall, but then you just, you know, you shoot yourself back up again. And once you get used to the wall riding, then start throwing in shooting your gun from the wall and being relatively accurate with it. So that's the first thing I would challenge you to do as Lucio, in terms of trying to improve your Lucio gameplay. So like here, you died because you're on the ground. Like if you were wall riding like around here, like this side of the bus, and then even kind of bouncing around, and then you could even shoot yourself over the bus and wall ride on this, that Orisa can't shoot you. Now, I'm not saying you wouldn't have died from something else, but you being on the ground there is what got you killed. So like here, the faster you can wall ride and roll out from a spawn, the quicker you get to your team. So the one thing I'll say is when Orisa does this, start that when she's spinning around her javelin, speed people away from her. Swap to speed and get people away. I'd like to be seeing... Okay, good job shooting at the head. That's good. That I like to see. But the one thing I'm going to say is I'd like to see you swapping between heal and speed way more. Everybody's full health and you're still on speed. So you gotta. I'm not gonna be able to see it, but when you hold tab, there's a stat in Overwatch 2 that wasn't there in 1 about like your percentages for speed versus healing. I usually like to see that somewhere kind of in the ballpark of 60-40. And those aren't hard numbers to be around. Every game's going to be a little different, but somewhere in the terms of 40 for speed, 60 for heal is usually where I find myself at, give or take a little bit. Obviously when it's like, let's all be real for a second. The matchmaking's not the greatest in the greatest state right now. So when I find myself more on the pub stomp side of I'm just destroying the other team, my speed is higher because there's less healing to do. And then when I feel like I'm more on the losing side of things, I'll be healing more. So, I mean, these numbers are going to vary a bit, but when you find yourself on the more dominating team, your speed should be way higher percentages than what you're probably used to seeing it at. This right now is a situation where you should be on speed. Like, speed the Roadhog out of this choke, and then swap to healing, and then start topping him off, and letting the Ana get some heals too. But just leaving it on healing here, that's not really the play. The other thing I'd like to say is, I mean, I see your team pushing the cart all together, which I actually don't really like. But my guess is as we start to get around this corner, we're going to see less of that. That first kind of push once you've won your first team fight is kind of still a choke. So yeah, okay. They nano the Orisa here, so speed everybody away from the Orisa. That's what I'm looking for here from you. Yep, speed everybody out. Okay. So right now you've got a nanoed Roadhog ulting. You still want to be on speed here. You want to make space for the Roadhog so that he can push through here and actually get these 2 ultimates of value. So speeding Roadhog here is what you should be doing. But you swap to healing because you see him at, I don't know, a quarter health, or not a quarter health, but he's lost a quarter of his health, which is like nothing for Roadhog, especially a nanoed Roadhog. So speeding him would have been the play there.
Let's do it fast.
Okay, go help your Junkrat. So one thing you could do to help that Junkrat is you can start trying to build a little momentum from low wall riding. You could bounce off of this thing down to here and then kind of hop over to here. And start distracting the Cassidy, and then your circle will encompass the Junkrat, I would suspect. And then you could kind of be healing him and taking some fire away from the Junkrat. And then once you land over here, and if the Cassidy actually has good aim and starts hitting you, you just kind of fall back over here or around here, you know, behind this wall. And then you kind of hide, heal yourself up a little bit, and then bounce back over and get back to your team. That's one way to do it. Where you're at now isn't terrible either, because you are healing your Junkrat, but you're not really doing anything else, and you are at full health. Most of their team is dead and coming out of spawn. He's 1. You probably could just help the Junkrat finish it off, kind of a thing. So a little bit more aggression here is kind of what I'm looking for. There's definitely times to be kind of sitting back, though. But I feel like this isn't one of them. I don't know what you're looking at there, but don't turn your back on the enemy spawn. So right here, the robot kind of stays stationary for like, what is it, about 7 or 8 seconds, it feels like. You can kind of move up and poke a little bit if you wanted to. You're Lucio, you've got speed boost, you can wall ride and build some momentum. I would say just poke around either there or up above on that window that's like over there. That's the 2 areas I would be doing. I wouldn't like actually pick fights, but doing a little bit of poke damage is something I often try to do. And I also try to determine like where they're going to be coming from. Like, are they going to be coming from main? Are they going to flank this way from up on that window? And then what I like to do is I ping where they're coming from to kind of start giving my team an idea like what's going on. The other thing you could do if that doesn't feel like something you'd be comfortable doing is speeding any stagglers back from your team back to over here. You could go back into your spawn and just grab everybody and kind of start getting them back to the front line. Not really sure if you have any, but looks like you might have 2. So see, like, because you didn't kind of scout a bit, they're coming from over here, and it kind of looks like it caught you guys off guard a little bit. So had you have gone up to that window or off to the right here, you might have been able to scout that out. So if you're not pinging enemy players, I would get in the habit of doing that, especially if you're not on a mic, like calling out stuff, which frankly, I don't feel bronze players do much mic chatting. There's a few, but I think the norm is that the comms are pretty silent. Yeah, you're amping on heal way too early, and frankly, if I were doing any amping here at all, it would be on speed song to try to get people to the front line to meet them here. But I don't think I would be amping at all, though. But if I were to be amping, or if I found myself amping on accident, I would be on speed. So you're on the ground way too much again. That post that's behind you, I would be trying to get some height right now off of that post.
We're pushing now.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's do the ride already.
Wow. Hold on. I'm slightly curious about something here. Did the Kiriko just save the Junkrat tower? I think she did. Oh. Good job, enemy Kiriko. So that's a bad high noon. So I'm not going to fault you for doing anything about that high noon. However, if that high noon were in a better position, I would have expected you to go to it and speed him to start giving him more line of sight. So if you're not going to your high noon allies... Oh, wait a minute. This is an enemy high noon. Wait, what am I talking about? Okay, well, I'm just going to finish the thought just because now I'm like halfway into it. And for some reason, it didn't register to me this is an enemy high noon. And I don't know what the heck this high noon actually ended up being. But, all right, pretending this was an ally high noon for a second, because now I'm just sounding like an idiot. But pretending this is an ally high noon, go to him and speed him around so that he can move faster and get, potentially more picks off of it. What he was doing here, I'm not really sure. He's trying to go on a flank, but I don't know how he... Ooh, that grenade, yeah. You gotta be careful on those Cassidy grenades. Those things will track you, like, through a 90-degree corner for some reason. I don't know why Blizzard felt the need to give Cassidy that. It's very annoying. I hate that ability. It's one of a few abilities I really hate in Overwatch 2. So, alright, as far as here goes, in terms of wall riding, these posts I try to make use of. This is what I was talking about back over there. But what I would try to do here is build some height off of this and then bounce around here and get up into this room here. And then you could just shoot down on them. And if your team plays close enough to this wall, they're still going to get healed from you as long as you're kind of like poking out the windows and stuff. Because what's going to happen, especially in this level of a game, no one's really going to shoot at you because you're on the high ground. They're going to be shooting at the people like lower. Because right now you're going to be like target number one. You're a healer. You're on the ground. You're also frontlining. I don't necessarily hate Lucio's at front line if they're wall riding and being hard to hit, but you're not doing that. So this I don't actually like. So if you're not going to wall ride, which is 100% the play here, but if you're not going to do it, you need to at least be on the other side of the robot here so you've got some form of cover. Right now you don't. You've got a little bit of cover with this post and this lamp post, but it's going to not really be enough here in a couple seconds when the Orisa pushes you from one side, the soldier's about to push you from the other. You got to make a little bit more space here. So either getting up to this high ground in the window or getting to the other side of the robot. The other thing I want to add is we are starting to get close to a very lopsided game with a lot of time left. And this is something we've talked about in push strategy before. But we're getting close to the point now where is it actually advantageous to push the robot anymore? Because we're pretty much at the point now where the enemy team's got to win 3 team fights. Well, they got to win 2 team fights to get to here. And then to catch up to this, they've got to win another 2. So there's like 4 team fights that the enemy teams got to win consecutively to basically play catch up. And this is why a lot of people don't like push maps anymore. It becomes very insurmountable very quickly. So the strategy can often turn into try to just stagger the robot near center or around here and just let them have to come out of spawn and play catch up to these two spots, because then there's more travel time, more time to eat, and you just keep holding the robot between these two spots here and they'll never really catch up. Or if worse comes to worse, you hold it here and then you push it to like there and then you just hold it. But you know, we can always talk about that more as time goes on, or if you guys have questions, you can post in the comments and we can kind of go a little bit more into detail there. But the reasoning I say that though is because this is their spawn, and the closer you start pushing it to them, you're just giving them the robot, and you don't gain any extra SR from pushing the robot the whole way. You just need to win the game, right? So I don't know. It's so early on right now that it's totally fine to try to push it the whole way, but once it starts getting, I'd say, under like 4 minutes, that strategy starts becoming a little bit more advantageous. So yeah, going back to where you found yourself at, you gotta be wall riding way more. So okay, you're gonna be speeding everybody back. I'm okay with that, because it'd be nice to seeing everybody coming the same direction. But alright, so yeah, speeding everybody. Now we'll catch them at the middle. Maybe. So yeah, so the one thing I will say here, Lucio does not play the greatest with Winston. You're going to have trouble keeping up with him on particular maps. I don't think this map, though, you'll have too much of an issue. Again, a lot of this is going to fall to wall riding. So I would start coming off of this wall, try to land onto the bus and then onto this area up here and just staying above everybody and then just shooting down on them. And if you start picking up a bunch of fire coming your way, then you would just hop in through one of these windows, you know, heal up and wait, and then come out the window here or come out the window here. And then you can jump off of the sill and try to get back on the wall here, hop into a window and come back around. That's what I'd be looking for you to do here. The other thing that you could do is if you're really trying to play a little bit more with your team, I would be a little bit more focused on being more with the DPS. The Winston's getting covered a lot by the Ana, but they're also anti-healed. So the only thing you can do here is you should be speeding to try to speed the Winston out. Because you can't heal a anti-heal target, so speeding the Winston out might have been a good play as well, but you were stuck on healing. So you gotta get way more accustomed to wall riding and swapping between speed and heal. Because I'm not seeing you swapping between songs here. So like this is very basic wall riding, but I'm not saying that to mock or anything. All I'm saying is this is like very simple, right? Because you've got wall, and wall in very close proximity, and it's very easy to just do basic jump hopping between these spots. I'd like to see you actually sticking to some of these walls and wall riding them. That's very basic wall riding, what you just did, but that's not to mock or to downplay what you just did there. The point I want to make off of that is you saw what basic wall riding just did. They couldn't even hit you doing that, and they just gave up and started shooting at a Torbjorn in a window, and you just started to take the robot because they just gave up on you because they were just like, I can't hit this. I'm going to shoot at something I feel like I can actually hit. So that's the point I'm trying to make, that if you can get good at wall riding, I'll be honest with you, I have a friend who has given me a bronze account. I have personally played in bronze 5 games this season. I had 3 games in a row that I played on Lucio. I didn't die once in. So if you can get good at wall riding, you will not die in a bronze 5 game. I'm serious. You will not die. The people in bronze 5 games will not be able to hit you, and you will just climb off of that just on its own merit. And that right there is a perfect example. Like, they couldn't hit you and they just gave up on you. They stopped seeing you, basically. If your aim is good, that Echo would have died there. I think you're kind of you're swaying your aim a little too much left and right. You don't. I do that when I aim as Lucio, like to try to like spread the shots, you know, kind of a little bit more in a line. I do that, so it's not a bad thing to do. But in a case like that, where the Echo's just kind of moving straight, you know, maybe instead of aiming left to right, aim down to up a little bit, but like in a tight pattern. That Echo, I would say that Echo should have died, because the other thing you should have done is there's no reason for you to be on heal song. So you could have sped into the Echo and then also thrown a punch. Because as... another thing I'll say here is that when you're playing on speed song more and you're moving more and covering more ground, you're gonna find that Lucio turns into a melee character, and you'll throw more punches with Lucio than you'll find yourself doing with just about any other character in the game. But because you're a very stationary Lucio player in your current state. That's why you're not throwing the melee punches much. So, you were talking about in the beginning, like, nobody was very motivated to push the robot. Well, let's talk about this for a bit. You're pushing the robot alone into the enemy spawn right here. What it really is the advantage of you solo pushing the robot into the enemy spawn? You're just making it closer for them to reclaim the robot when your team is all right here. And on top of that, they do need healing. The other thing too is that you've been holding your ult for a really long time. We need to get that ult out so that you can use it again. However, I will say one thing. I haven't actually noticed a great time to use it, so I'll say that in your defense. Lucio is a good ultimate for defense ults, like defending against, let's say, Soldier, Nano, maybe Kiriko ult, depending on how it gets used, and maybe Echo ult. So there's a lot of ultimates here to try to be counteracting, and Orisa can be a good one to counteract too if she gets like a really good ult off. You can counteract that. So there's a lot of good choices here, but you have been holding this ult for a while, and I would like to. You should already be on like your second ultimate by now, or getting pretty close to your second ultimate. So I'm sorry I kind of skipped over that up until right now, but personally, I think I would like to see you use it when the Soldier ults, and he's ulting right now.
They took him from us. Go.
Good to see you.
So yeah, you see how once you wall ride, even on an extremely basic level there, how hard it is for them to hit you. Like that honestly wasn't great wall riding. It just wasn't. But even basic wall riding in this level, it's so hard for them to hit you. So let's look at your wall riding just from a third party or a third person view here for a second. So, all right, if you've got it in your mind to stall here, which I'm not totally against, But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that's a terrible 5. 5. You will not live long doing this here. So understand one thing. You're staggering yourself by doing this, but you are staggering the robot, and they do have a long way to go. So I'm not totally against it in this situation, but this is a no-win situation for you outside of just trying to live a long time. So how do you successfully wall ride here? So where I would start is gain some momentum off the robot. Come around here, hold space and loop around. Like kind of start to loop around here, jump to here and go up, come up here. From whatever damage you took from this path, you would heal up here. And all of this should be done with you swapping between heal and speed song. All of that should be heal and speed because you're not going to kill a single thing here. So doing damage is pointless. Your only thought process in this situation should be heal, speed, and where you go. Okay. So then you're up. So then you're up here. The only people that might pose a threat to you when you get up here is going to be maybe Kiriko and maybe Echo, depending on if they want to chase you or not. Higher level game, they should chase you. In this level game, I don't know what they would do. They might just say, I'm having a hard time hitting this hero, I'm not even going to bother. But the point I'm making is once you're up here, there's a health pack. So if you're really low, you go to the health pack, or you just heal yourself back up. Then you speed off of this wall because now the robot's going to start moving. You jump here, hop off of this, go to here, wall ride off of here, go into here, health pack. And you've just contested the robot around here. I think I'm going to do this for my wall riding instead, because then I can kind of show it. So now you've gotten a health pack, and now you're over here. You can wall ride off of this. Maybe go a little bit lower just so you don't hit that thing. But you could, wall ride off of this. And now you can poke a little bit depending on where the robot is, but you can kind of poke a little bit here. Or if you feel like you're going against a team that can aim, you can go here, wall right off of this, 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 get to your team and start speeding them back. And actually get to a team fight that would be basically about right here, give or take a little bit. And then you've now made up some distance that's going to be like their next team fight to get. So, and you can test the robot a bit while all of that's being done. So like by the time your team's ready to fight again, the robot's probably going to be in this vicinity. So let's watch what you do now. So yeah, like, I'm okay with the stalling, but like you didn't have an escape plan and all you really did there was just kind of kamikazed it a little bit. And now your team's dying. I don't know why they all went in off of that. They've got us outnumbered. Because now this is looking like it might steamroll in the enemy's favor. So all right, yeah, I was right. Like, look at that. Where the robot is, Didn't I just say, like, when you get back to your team, so you respawning and getting back to your team, the robot would be basically about right here? Ooh, I'm good. And then you guys should have been right here. Some of this is on your team, though. I'm not saying this is your fault. Because, like, you held the robot back a bit. And then your team should be ready to do a team fight, like, right here. And by the time you're back, that's what would have happened. But for some reason, your team, your Winston and your Junkrat engaged anyway. Oh, this I don't like. This is not a good nano. Okay, so because you did get nanoed, you should be on the robot. That's like, you've got extra armor now. You shouldn't. This is way too much on the ground right here. So, like, they're pushing the robot. You should be on full contest mode here. I don't know what you're hoping to do with this. You're just asking to die here. Yeah, okay. I was about to say, like, you got to start using this ultimate here, but okay, this is a good ult. I'm good with you counteracting the Orisa. I'm totally fine with that. But I just want to point out, it's been a long time since it took you to do that ultimate. You frankly would have had a second ultimate by the time this situation came up, or you should. A good Lucio player would be on his second by now. So start trying to get those out a little bit more. I find that when I'm playing with a tank that doesn't do a ton of damage mitigation, a good Lucio player can almost match damage mitigation with a tank that doesn't do a lot of it. Say, for example, like an Orisa doesn't do a lot of damage mitigation, but does do some. Or Roadhog would be another one, Junker Queen, those types of tanks. So if you're finding that your damage mitigation isn't matching the kind of that level of tank play, you got to kind of start making more mental note of like when you should be doing Lucio ults and stuff. But that ult was good. It's just that you probably could have had another one in before that is all I'm trying to say. Okay, a little too much on the speed song there. I don't know if that was on purpose or if you kind of just lost track of which one. Honestly, that situation would have just been a good idea to kind of just be going back and forth, though. So I'm just going to say I'm not a big fan of continuing to push the robot just because, again, you're basically going to be pushing it into their spawn at this point. If you guys are feeling really confident that you're going to win that next team fight, like, go for it, I guess. But generally speaking, when you start getting to this range here, you're just pushing it into their spawn and giving them the robot. I'm a little skeptical of this, but I probably would have held the robot back if it were me, but so I also just want to state here too, you can get up into this room and start shooting from people, and if you stay close enough to the ledge, you could still be healing and kind of bringing the team fight a little bit more of a wider front line. And then when they start shooting at you, you just speed sung and get out. You're kind of asking to be headshot right here because, like, all you're really exposing is your head. That's kind of why I say that. Like, that spear, I don't really feel like is a spear you should have been eating, even though it's kind of an inconsequential spear. I'm just saying, like, if you were wall riding around and kind of playing your cover a little bit better, like, this is just damage you wouldn't be taking. So the fact that Kiriko's ulting and it's in their spawn, just get out. Like, just wait this out. Get out. take the fight back a bit. Like, this is not a death you should have taken. Like, a tactical retreat there is totally fine to do because they're using ults in their spawn, and it's an ult that only encompasses a particular range of the map. So like so just to show what I'm talking about, they ulted in their spawn, do a tactical retreat with your speed song to like back here, and just meet the robot back here. Like with your team, of course, but like just on comms or something, just be like, fall back, and then you speed everybody back. You guys retreat to like that room, you know, you just fall back into that doorway or over here, and then you just meet them over here, and then that Kiriko ult is pretty useless at that point. Or you could even just fall back to like back here, and then that Kiriko ult is super useless because they might be able to kind of poke at you a little bit, but yeah. Tactical retreat there, and you have a lot of space to work with too, because like if it's over here, you've got all of that. You got all of this to work with. So if you're going to wall ride around and do a contest, this should actually be a very easy contest that you could do. There's two things you could do here. You could try to get a good view of what I'm talking about. So you could build height off of the bus and then hop over here to here, wall ride around, loop around, bounce off of here, come up here, bounce up here, come up here, jump down here, come back up here, loop back around, you know, and just be kind of going all over here. That's kind of what I would be looking at doing. Instead, you get hung up on the robot and... Oh, shoot. No. Okay. Phew, caught it. Okay, we're gonna pick up right here. Yeah, okay, this is the spot. Okay, so now you've got a Reinhardt. Reinhardt is great with Lucio. You gotta speed the Reinhardt around, though, to allow him to make up a lot of the space that the character just can't do because he's a no-range character. But if you speed your Rein around, he can be very good. So, yeah, I mean, I think I've made my point enough, but I'd like to see a lot more wall riding in that situation. That's a really bad soldier ult, so that saves you from not having your ultimate again. At this point, I would be looking at probably either Nano, Orisa, or maybe the Echo for counteracting an ultimate. So I would not push the robot past right here. I wouldn't push it past there. I don't see the point. Especially with the time left, just play keep away. Like, it would be fine to push the robot to basically where it is now and then pick the next team fight, like, to be right there with the robot just sitting right in this area. That's what I would be suggesting you do here. Also, I don't know why you're on heal song. This should be speed. Lucio, one of his big utilities is making space for your team. allowing your team to eat up space. Speed Song would have done that there.
Adaptive circuits engaged.
So I don't know why the Echo took Lucio. I'm hoping they just screwed that up on their part, unless they're just a Lucio player, but that's an odd Echo. I would be speed sawing here for the Reinhardt to actually like engage into the front line. And then the Ana would be able to fall back with your speed song and make up some space for her. Because right now she's antied, so there's not much to be healing here. Speed out. Okay, I'm alright with that ultimate. So you basically have just chosen to counter the Orisa ult, which is fine. And those were both good ultimates to counter. Because sometimes Orisa doesn't get much with her ult. So this is kind of a situation here where it feels like your team's just better than the enemy team, so pushing it the entire length of the way isn't really going to come back to and bite you. We've actually reviewed games where this kind of curtails back into the enemy team's favor by pushing the robot this deep. As you get into higher ranks, as you get better, you might find that picking team fights here might not be as advantageous as you would like it to be.
Let's go, team. Time to push. Good to see you. Hello.
Your mouse sensitivity feels a little too fast here. You're good at hitting the Orisa, but I feel like you're struggling to hit other targets. It almost feels like maybe you've got a mouse button that's like changing your mouse sensitivity a bit. I would, oh good, okay, you got a third one out. I'm totally fine with that. There's times to initiate with a Lucio ult, and that one honestly was a good time to do that. The only thing I'm gonna say though is that could have been your fourth ult instead of your third. But it feels like you maybe have a button on your mouse that's increasing your mouse sensitivity. I don't know if you need to do that on Lucio. But you won the game, so that's great. So just in terms of points to cover, I mean, the first one's going to be an obvious one. I'm just going to say that's wall ride for short. You definitely got to work on your wall riding. I've given you some examples through the VOD review, but again, watch some Lucio streamers. I don't want to really advertise any of them in particular. That lets you kind of find some Lucio streamers that, you know, you like watching. Kind of see what they're doing with their wall riding. Get it into custom games so that you get comfortable doing it yourself. And just focus on the wall riding aspect of it. And then once you're comfortable doing that, then start practicing your aim wall riding. Number 2, swap songs. I'd like to see more speed song out of you. And knowing when to do it. So making space for your team. Giving like a Reinhardt speed, giving Roadhog when he's ulting speed, getting people back for tactical retreats, that sort of a thing. 3, being harder to hit. It kind of goes with the wall riding a bit, but just being, you're on the ground too much. I guess this does kind of go with the wall riding, but you're just on the ground too much, and you're taking, as you climb, you're going to find that you're going to be taking way too much damage when you're on the ground. And then the fourth point I want to pull up is holding ult. That first ult you held way too long. The other ones, I'd say you used at fair times. I took no issue with the second, third, and yeah, just the second and the third ult. The first three ults, the ults you did do were fine, but that first ult you held way too long. That you could have used that as an initiation ult. You might have been able to save your Winston when the Winston got nanoed, but then got antied and you had your speed song on for too long. That could have been a good time to do it. But yeah, those would be the key takeaways that I saw here. But the big thing is, if you're going to be a Lucio player, really start working on your wall riding. That is a huge hole in your Lucio game that needs a lot of work. And once you get the wall riding down, you're going to find these games get a lot easier for you. I'm not saying you're going to win all of them, but they're going to get a lot easier. So I hope you found that helpful. And thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.